Hello friends, I hope y'all are having a great Sunday. I am here to show you how to do our technique for April, and we are learning the partial die cut technique. So we're going to learn how to die cut just the edge of our paper with the Stippled Roses bundle. It's so gorgeous. This is a card also that you're going to make that's so easy you would be shocked. And then another card that's exceedingly easy, using some of the cool dies from the Stippled Roses bundle. Something that I like to do is when I'm creating projects with a set, I like to find examples of things that use it in different ways. And I love this card because it just really features these gorgeous dies. They cut out tiny little fronds and blooms, but they're stippled, which is, I think, super cute. So let's get started with our first card, which is our technique card, and we are going to learn how to do partial die cuts. So my friends and I, a lot of people on the Pretties team, which many of you are on, got the opportunity to go to Houston and Stampin' Up, and we got to learn some new things. And one of the things that was talked about in our Houston gathering was this technique. And it's not brand new. It's been around. I've done it before. It's just been a while, and I don't think we've ever done it at Stamp Technique Club. So I thought it would be fun to learn how to do it with our little group. All right, so for this card, you're going to start with the card packet that looks like this. It'll have a basic white card base that's thick, some of our pretty yellow ribbon, and a place to stamp on, and then also some designer paper. This is from the Flight and Airy, or Lighter Than Air 6x6 paper. So I just needed a yellow lemon lolly monochromatic piece to go on that card base, and I thought it really made it pop. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get that out of the way, stick it down. I love this little detail because if you're going to all that trouble to do a partial die cut, then it's nice to let it really shine on top of that designer series paper. So actually we'll get there, but we're not there yet. So, and I'm just gonna have to really think about this now that I've stuck that down. Okay, so this is gonna be the front of the card. So don't stick your designer paper down yet. Wait till you've done your partial die cutting. All right, so I only have one Stippled Rose stamp set. So actually, I'm going to do this other card first because I've got this set up in my Stamparatus, and I don't want to reset it. It's too hard. So stay tuned. Our technique card is next. We're going to switch to this card right here. So you're going to have your little packet. And of course, if you do this at home, you'll need this Stippled Roses bundle. And you can stamp and then die cut. Okay, so this is your stamp. And this is your die cut that's going to do that. But I've already cut that for you. You can eyeball it if you want, if you have the bundle at home, or you can do your own stamping. All right, let's get so we're stamping this in Smoky Slate. And I like Smoky Slate. It's a light gray. And I like it because we're going to color this with some lighter colors. And that will really help them pop. All right, so you can see the Stippled Roses bundle is gorgeous. It is continuing into the next catalog, so you don't have to be worried, is this retiring or not? It is not. But if you don't get it before the end of the month, then you're going to lose out on the discount, which is the bundled price. So you've got the gorgeous stamp set, wonderful sentiments, very versatile, and also the Stippled Roses dies that are in here. I'm using this big one. There's a couple of frond dies, lots and lots of goodness. And this is that stippled die that I was telling you about on the next card. All right, so make sure and purchase that bundle. It's great. We'll set that aside. And now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our petal pink and our soft sea foam and a couple of blending brushes. And this is just a fun technique to cover your stamped area in a hurry, okay? And I like that because oftentimes we want to do things more quickly, and we don't want to use hours and hours with our blending markers coloring a large area like this. So I'm going to show you how to color it quickly with blending brushes. I moved my lamp around so you wouldn't get so much shadow. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our blending brush and we're just going to focus on these rose areas. So there's one here, and you can see it's just laying down a very soft color. It just reminds me of something you might see in an antique shop. It's very airy and beautiful. Gorgeous. Don't forget about these little guys here. Now, you're going off the edge. That's fine. You also may get into the areas that are going to be green. That's fine. Don't overthink it. Okay, we're just getting color on there, I would say loosely. And then we're going to come in with our soft sea foam, a very soft color that I think is a great complement to our petal pink. And we're just going to get those leaves done in soft sea foam. I think my ink pad we used it up quite a bit. When you do use your blending brushes like this, then oftentimes you need to re-ink your pad because you're pulling up quite a bit of ink from that ink pad. So again, you're going to get a little bit onto those areas where the roses are, and then the roses are going to get a little bit onto your area where your greenery is. But that is fabulous. All right. And then I love these colors. This petal pink and pebbled path. That's quite a bit of P to talk about. All right. So this paper is from the designer paper called Nature's Textures, some sort of like the one Earthen Textures, sorry. So it's that gorgeous one with all the little vessels and earthy colors, but I love this. It looks like something you might see in the Fantastic section at Dillard's, like a gorgeous dress that the Queen of England might wear. So very pretty. And then you're going to grab your little white piece here, and I love this just simple congratulations. Let me see, I took the pebbled path out for use in another project, and I actually put it back where it goes. So this I'm going to stamp in pebbled path. I did the roses in smoky slate, but I need a little bit bolder gray for my sentiment there. And we're going to pop this down. Now, the other tip I'll give you is go ahead and figure out where you want your roses. Okay, you decide. And then don't stick them down yet, but go ahead and slide your congratulations under. Okay, because you want to make sure you don't get they don't need to interfere with each other. Then you're going to pop this up with dimensionals. You probably need about 5 on this big old flower grouping. So pretty. All right, so we're going to pop that down, and that card is done. And isn't it stunning? I just love it. It's quick. You could make so many of these in a flash, but they look like you've spent hours. But with that blending brush coloring that big area, you've just cut your time down tremendously. All right, now we can take our stamp off of our stamp apparatus. And we're going to put it on a block. You're going to need your E block for this one. It's a big one. It does fit, but you have to put it on like that. Okay, now back to our technique card, revisiting. So this is the front of our card because that's where the designer paper is going to go. Okay, so we are going to stamp our rose grouping. Now, this is the part that's important. So this first set, we're going to stamp about 1/4 of an inch from this edge and off the bottom here, okay? That gives us the best area to partial die cut. So that is why we've chosen that way. That's the secret. And we're going to ink this up with our, at this point we're using basic gray. And we're going to stamp it to where, again, you're going to get about 1/4 of an inch from there, but also you're going to go off the bottom edge. Okay. Big flowers. Wow. All right, now, I tried this many different ways, but I'll show you where we're going to do the next bit of stamping. So you're actually going to take a ruler and you're going to make a tiny mark 1 inch in and 1 inch in. Okay, and we're going to draw a line. I'm going to grab a pencil for this, even though a pen will do. I used a pencil before and I'm just nervous to use a pen. All right, so we're going to draw a very thin line straight down. Oh, don't draw your line through the roses. I forgot to tell you that. Just draw it through the areas that aren't the roses. All right, so there's your line. Now let's get rid of this ink pad for a second. And we're going to bring our Stampin' Cut and, oh no, I'm going to do my other stamping first. Sorry, before I get rid of that. So now we know that, so we don't want to stamp to the right of this line because we're not doing any more die cutting on this edge. So your next little stamp, you want it to be like this far or any farther, any far distance, but not past that line. Okay, and then we can of course just fill in here. Okay, so that's how we do our stamping. Now we can get our emboss machine out. And I am going to raise the stakes here so I won't bang that. Let me put my blending brushes away. Okay. Now, if you'll notice, your embossing plates have a beveled edge. Okay, so they're a cutting surface, but then when we get right to this edge, that's beveled. So your goal is to line this beveled edge up with your pencil mark. Okay, and you want to be doing it the correct direction. So you want to have it going into your machine like this. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and get, so you put one plate in there. And then you kind of, I think it's easier to go ahead and get this plate sort of inserted, the top plate, and then be aware of where that beveled edge is, okay? And then we're going to take this piece and we're going to go ahead and get our die in the right place. Now, I suggest using some Post-it note tape here, and or a Post-it note, either one, but Post-it note tape is fabulous, Amazon. So we're going to put a smidge here, and actually I'm going to put 2 because I'm going to put quite a bit of pressure on this little dill, so we want that to be stuck. All right, so now our goal is to slide this guy all the way under until your white line lines up, I'm sorry, your pencil line, which I covered up with my tape. Hold on. You're lining up your pencil mark with the beveled edge of your cutting pad. So you see, like, this is the edge with that pencil mark, and this is the edge with that pencil mark. Okay? And then you're going to hold tight, and you're going to push from the bottom, not from the top. And then you got to get it in there. So you've got to get your plates. This is the tricky part, is without jostling anything, you've got to get your plates engaged into the roller. It really feels like, there you go. You really need 3 hands. Once it starts going, you're good. And you just hold your hands here and then run it through, but you don't have to run it through backwards, okay? I suggest just running it through once, and then once you take those plates out, you can. And then you'll see that you've only cut right there at the edge, okay? So you've only cut that edge of your dill. All right, so now you've got 2 choices. You can come in here with a trimmer, or you can come in here with an X-Acto knife. I choose the trimmer because I don't want to cut my finger off, but some of you might be X-Acto knife people. So we're gonna cut just inside my pencil mark up until the flowers. And then we're going to cut just up to the flowers. And then and this it depends on where you place your die. There's no right or wrong, but sometimes your die gets right up to you have a little bit of smidge of paper right in there, okay? So that's where you're going to get your X-Acto knife and cut that. Just so. All right. So then you've got your partial die cutting, and you've got that edge that just lines up so gorgeously. And now we can see that designer paper that we stuck down. Isn't that cool? I think it's super cool. All right, let me get you squared back down a little bit closer. We're going to do some coloring, and we're going to color with something we haven't done in a while. And these are our watercolor pencils. So you actually need group 1 and group 2. They come in 2 groups, group 1 and group 2. There's probably about 10 or 12 to a group. Let me see. Let's do a little exploration into the catalog, and I will find it for you. If you don't have the watercolor pencils, you definitely need them. They're super fun and versatile. Let's see, coloring, markers and more. We can try that. 122 to 123, maybe. There we are. So you've got watercolor pencil assortment 1 and assortment 2, and I'm using Daffodil Delight from assortment 1, and I'm using Grainy Apple Green from the second assortment. So you need both. Like, let's face it, you don't need one or the other. You need both. They're not expensive. Okay, so on this, we're not going to color it carefully. just think about laying in a layer of color with your watercolor pencil, okay? So I'm not being very careful because we're gonna do something else with our blender pens to really smooth that out. So all you're doing here is laying in a foundation of color, and of course we're gonna go Daffodil Delight in all of our floral areas. I have a friend whose mother, well, I actually knew the mother better at my church, and they referred to her as the Yellow Rose of Texas. And I am super blessed to think about sending this card to them. She passed. And so she was one of my favorite people at my church. And I want to send this to her daughters because I think they'll love it. At her funeral, they talked about her being the Yellow Rose of Texas. So I think they'll love it. Okay. We have all of our color laid down. Now what we're going to do is take our blender pen, which has liquid in it, and all we're going to do then is use our blender pen to smooth that color out. So I know you were stressed about how wild I was just coloring that watercolor pencil, but you see how that blender pen just smooths it out? It's gorgeous, and it's quick. Again, quick. So I love that. Just don't forget about our watercolor pencils, and I like it for this. I mean, blends is very pretty with this stamp set. Don't get me wrong. I've seen some gorgeous samples using blends, but we also, I like the softer look of the watercolor pencils with this. And someone else made a good point. I think it was Judy Chapman, that if we use blends, then it would bleed through to the inside, and we don't want that. So one of the beauties of this card is it only uses one piece of cardstock because we've fancied that front up so much it almost looks like it's two cards in one, right? So this won't bleed through because we're just mushing that watercolor pencil around with our blender pen. Now our blender pens come in packs of 3. I don't know that I've ever bought, I mean, I've bought more just to have a class set, but they last forever and you don't have to wash them. So when you're done with a color, let's take a look. I think we're done there. When you're done with the color, all you have to do is go like this, gently, until you see no more of that color coming off onto your paper. And that's how you clean your blender pen. Fantastic. All right. So, oh, I see I left off 2 roses. Oh my goodness. I know y'all were in the screen screaming, she left off 2 roses. No worries. Quick and easy. Quick and easy. Alright, so now we're going to pop over to our Granny Apple Green, and we're going to get into our leaf zone. And I'm not going to fully, well, I will because it doesn't take long. So we're going to scratch that green color in like so. Here, here, here. Some of this greenery around those little flowers is pretty. Oh my gosh, there's another rose I missed. There are 2 roses. But we found them, don't worry. We got you. All right, so we're popping in. Oh, we gotta get this little, just get a little green in there. All right, so let's go ahead and take care of our yellow, finish our yellow roses. Color that off to clean it, and then we're gonna go to town on this Granny Apple Green layer. So all we're doing is getting some Granny Apple Green into these leaves, and we're gonna smooth that out with our blender pen. And this is our gorgeously colored stippled rose. partial die cut card. Again, don't forget this bundle is This bundle is only sold at the bundled price until the end of April. So April 30th, the bundles that are continuing will be in the next catalog, but their bundled price will retire. So you won't be getting that 10% off anymore. So that's just like leaving money on the table, right? You need to get it. I see there needs to be some yellow in there, but I'm just going to color that green. Okay, how are we doing here? I think we're good. I love that. Now, we're going to stamp our sentiment. Now, this, I'm going to leave this, well, let's see if I can find one quickly. I would like to find a sympathy. That's too long. Maybe. Let's try it. Oh, yeah, that's just a hair too long. But we're just going to make it work. Y'all are going to be put on your patience pants. And I just had my trimmer. Where did I put it? Okay, that's bizarre. Oh, covered it up. So this, I'm sorry, this comes from the Flowering Zinnias. And I'm just going to, because I want this to be a sympathy card. So you can add whatever sentiment you want here, but I'm grabbing the Sending Flowers and Thinking of You. I made, for the Technique Club, we used the, so this is the Zinnia set that I'm using for this card, but for Technique Club, we used the Best Birthday Wishes that fits just perfectly in there. All right, let's find our ink. Oh my gosh, I have the losies today. I'm losing everything. All right, let's see if I can pick up this stamp on this block. I think it fits diagonally, just barely. All right, Sending Flowers and Thinking of You. Oh, you know what? Her husband is still living, and he would also, I bet, love this card. So I'll have to make multiples. Okay, now what we're going to do, we have this ribbon. If you'll remember, this came in Bubble Bath, Azure Afternoon, and Lemon Lolly. And I'm just using the Lemon Lolly one. Now grab a piece of tear and tape first, makes it easier. And then what you're going to do, so you're going to make a bow without making a bow. Actually, it's kind of easier just to do it in the air. So we're making a bow without tying it because that is less bulky under where you've done your stamping. And then we're going to do this and use our tear and tape to smash that in. Now, I'm tickled with how pretty that looked. Even prettier than the one I did before. So you can just clap with me because I think that looks fantastic. And then we're going to stick this down with Stampin' Dimensionals. And you could leave, you don't, oh, that's too long. I'm going to have to move it down here and stick it there. Okay, good. You are going to add any kind of embellishments. I'm going to use these gold. I think that's going to look really pretty with that yellow. So let's do, where did I do those? One here, one here, and here. All right, so we've got our little yellow roses card with our stippled roses bundle. Now, I had a much heavier hand here, so this is much darker. Lighter hand here, you choose. I think since I was on the video, I must have gotten excited and I was coloring pretty hard. So you make it as dark or as light as you wish. All right, my last card is this beautiful card. Now, just a tip, obviously, if you have a living mother, you are blessed. If you don't, you may have a daughter-in-law, a neighbor that's a mother, a daughter. But if not, then you can put a different sentiment on it, right? So no worries. That's the joy of stamping, is you can make it your own. So I actually set this up in my Stamparatus because this stamp is very fine, okay? And I want it to stamp well. So I went ahead and set it up in my Stamparatus so that if I have to stamp it twice, then it's easy to do. So we're gonna ink that up, stamp it, and it's perfect. All right, now what we're gonna do, so you may recognize or not recognize this paper because it's from the coffee, the Latte Love Bundle. And I was so excited to use that paper in the spring because I love that plaid with the coral and the lemon lolly calypso coral, Lost Lagoon, and pecan pie. It's just fabulous. All right, so we're gonna take our little calypso coral strip and we're gonna give it a little V. So the way I do that is I just come in right here and then I meet in the middle. Easy peasy. Then we're gonna stick that down. I feel like when I have a circle that it needs an anchor. That's just a stamp technique that I use, but when I'm putting a circle on a card, I feel like it needs to be anchored on something instead of just floating on the card. So tap your kit and out will fall this gorgeous floral or frond cut with the stippled roses dies, and you can see how that's stippled. And we're gonna use the smidgiest tiny bit of liquid glue. Now, just a tip, when you're die cutting those, they are very fine. And what I did is I remembered that you can run your die through once with waxed paper, and then that gets the die a little waxy. And then when you die cut, it's like butter, okay? So just a little tip, if you kind of almost like grease up your dies, then that works really well. I'm gonna put 3 little dots of glue here for my flowers that I've die cut. And I'm going to pick those up. Oh my gosh, come on, little flower. It doesn't want to go on its card today. We're gonna pop this smaller one over here. And of course, once that liquid glue dries, it'll stick. Our liquid glue is repositionable, so it will stick great once it's dry, but when it's wet, it's not gonna stick very hard. All right, we're gonna put dimensionals on the back of this circle, and we're gonna stick that sweetie down to our card. I meant to tell you that's a petal pink card base coming from that designer paper, the Latte Love. That's an online exclusive. You won't find it in a catalog, and it's great because it could stick around longer than it would if it were in a catalog or not. We don't know. The inventory of our online exclusive is dynamic. We don't know when it's coming or it's going. If you type in to the store and it comes up, then it's current. If it's gone, it's gone. If it says currently unavailable, that means they're ordering more. So that's just a little tip on our online exclusives. So I hope you have loved our Stippled Roses technique club, learning the partial die cut technique. Don't forget to purchase that Stippled Roses bundle, and it will only be 10% off during the month of April. Once May 1st hits, it will go in the new catalog pricing, and that bundled price will be retired. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.